still figuring all these bells and whistles out. Hopefully it works.
Is Heya your Ricky Ricardo, or is Heya another player?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I have to introduce the two of you. Ricky Ricardo was as wonderful and as beautiful as Heya. I would be, consider myself a lucky guy. But yeah, Jimmy is a member of the Star Trek group. He's
cool.
Somebody that I've had the pleasure of knowing for years, and also KT from the Mindfulness group. This wonderful company.
Yay. Look at all the people fighting.
She's the founder of the Bridge Makers group. Hey, Rickroll.
Hey. It's an honor to meet you.
Oh, same here. It's really nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you, Heya.
You too, Rick. You seem really interesting.
Glad you could make it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just checking YouTube to see if we are up and running here. We should be live, but I need to double check. Content.
Hey, KT.
And then
Hey!
we'll go ahead and...
I'm going to flop down.
You're good at moving your camera around.
Dirt.
Nice. Okay.
To jump with you.
Oh, that's really interesting.
We got to get that.
Oh, wow.
Where am I?
Oops. We got sized differently.
Right there.
You're on the Jumbotron there.
Here we go. Hey, whoa. That's too funny.
Nice. Okay.
We're working on getting a live stream going so that if it's a little more comfortable to just watch like on YouTube, like we'll have that as an option too.
Yeah.
I have a friend I sent the link to, so I'm hoping it works.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Oh, great.
I was hoping she could join
we
us.
actually got...
She's mostly in
we got somebody who's already
Horizon,
responding.
so.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we got a couple people chiming in here. We got Jeffrey from the Pain Benders group. He's the founder of a lovely mindfulness and pain management group. And Rhonda Wolf, so glad you could also chime in.
Rhonda's my friend.
Just have it.
Awesome, welcome.
Let's see, where's that camera?
I can zap you.
Okay, so I'm starting our stage. Now I haven't streamed, I think, to Discord and YouTube at the same time. So we're going to see how this works. No problem.
Nice. Some new territory.
Exactly. We are innovators. Okay.
Trailblazing.
Trailblazing, that's right. So the stage should be up. And people have gotten notifications, and then we just need to check YouTube to see if we're going
there. I think Rhonda sees you, KT.
Nice. Okay. Yep. I hear audio too, so I think we're good to go. Scott. Woohoo! Can't believe we're finally here.
Oh, wonderful.
What a journey.
Yeah, really. And a wonderful process too. Thanks to everybody that helped kind of coordinate and feedback and get everything lined up for us to start. I'm really excited about doing this, and it's just the cherry on top that others are excited to join in. So let me go ahead and see if I can steal the camera here and get us going. So welcome to our group book review of The Body Keeps the Score, our week-by-week journey of just doing a deep dive as a community into this topic in this book. First and foremost, Grace is here. That's my wife, Grace Lynn. So I'm really happy that she dialed in to join us too. And Atessa, welcome Atessa. So good to see you. hopefully we don't have any like our Star Trek experience where you get badgered about your microphone the like moment you come in. So sorry about that. So many years ago, but I won't
please,
forget.
don't worry about it. Don't worry, but you're lovely. Thank you. Nice to see you.
And
Scott.
yeah, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to the community to just say thanks for like the opportunity to make this happen. Like it doesn't happen if we don't get together. So I just want to give a super shout out to I kind of consider it like a co-created experience. It happens because we came together, and that just always just makes me feel warm about the whole thing. So yeah, just a little bit about the event. So we're going to do a weekly meetup. We're going to do 10 weeks and then maybe take a little bit of a pause and then continue on at a little bit of a later time. I didn't update my slide. We're actually going to do one chapter a week. We were going to try to fit the whole book into 10 weeks, and then it was like, why rush? The chapters are so rich, so I think it'll be good to keep it to one chapter a week. And today we're actually going to do the preamble, which I think has a lot of fun pointers, and then we'll start the deep dive into chapter 1 next week. I'm trying to keep myself to about like 20-ish minutes or so of like structured review of the content of what we're doing for the week, and then sort of have a community discussion. I got these wonderful hand raise tools, which can kind of help if the conversation is going and it seems difficult to jump in. If you just click the squirrel there, you get a hand raise up on the board, and we'll know that you have a comment. And feel free to click at any time, especially if there's a world discomfort. If all of a sudden you can't hear me or something, or something disappears on you, like I'd like to know those things so I can make sure I fix them up. And as far as where to get the book, if you don't already have access to a copy, I always recommend the local library. If they don't have the book on hand, sometimes they have the means to like bring it in from another district, and librarians are always so happy to help, right? They're like, we want people to read, so just go in and ask. They'd be more than happy to hook you up. It's on Audible. If you have an Audible subscription and one of those like coin credits, you can get it that way. It's online in book retailers. You can get a copy off of like Facebook Marketplace or eBay if you'd like to pick up a pre-read one. Probably have a few highlights in it. I know this is a wonderful like highlighter book to highlight those little things that hit home. It is on YouTube. I don't know, how above board that is, but there is sites that have like the audiobook. So I always recommend if you come across that, just maybe shoot a donation over to Dr. Vander Kolk's foundation. He has started a research foundation, and, that kind of money goes to a good cause, as we'll find out as we go, how wonderful his contribution has been to the topic. And, our objective for this get together, not only just an excuse to kind of hang out in VR, which is such a wonderful thing to do. It never gets old to me. But, to have this kind of peer-to-peer learning and exploration of the groundbreaking research in this book. It's sort of been a dream of mine to be able to discuss the book with, fellow readers and people that are interested in the topic. So, once again, the magic of VR sort of makes that possible. So I'm pretty excited about where this can go. Since it is kind of a pretty powerful topic, we have some norms that we ask that we kind of adhere to and adopt as a group so that everybody has, the best experience and it's comfortable. First and foremost, this isn't therapy. Like, I'm not of a mental wellness warrior. I love articles about mental health. I love advice about mental health. I love people that make videos about it. I like but I've not like gotten a certification or a degree. So, the advice here is just, not even really advice. It's just meant to be like a peer-to-peer exploration and discussion. And if anything ever feels different, I'd like to hear, because, we're as we do this, we'd like to improve and make everybody's experience a wonderful time. If you can commit to the duration, I wonder, we'll get some pretty rich discussions in here. So if you have to pop out, we understand. But, if you're just going to do the dishes, and you can pop us back up on YouTube or something, we'd love to continue to hear from you throughout the event. And we always want to be careful of the I and you hygiene with statements. If you start a statement, like you said, or you this, it can feel kind of very targeted and judgmental. So statements like, what I think I heard, or I'm feeling this way, they go a long way to a deep discussion like this to help, with the comfort level. And, no fixing and advising. I think we're just kind of here to listen, offer compassion and support for things that have happened that are difficult. But, we might have situations where somebody's sharing something they've carried for the first time. And the one of the quickest ways to really hurt somebody without intention is just to say, oh, I know exactly what you should do for that. And it's like, I'm not here to be fixed, like I just want to, explore like what I'm feeling about something. So be really careful about the advice and fixing, but also if you do want advice, mention it. Like I'm really looking for others' thoughts on this thing that I'm having. So, welcome it if you do want that kind of feedback. Confidentiality, like we are live streaming. So, I just want people to be aware, if you do share something, there are going to be those of us on the live stream and those of us here. We're in a day and an age where almost anything digital can be recorded. So, I kind of always, as a rule of thumb, like keep in the back of my mind, somebody could be recording something that's said. So, not to be any kind of downer on that point, but just, full disclosure, I want to protect you, for anything private. Mm-hmm. We mentioned the raise hand feature. We got our little friendly little squirrel there. If you want to let me know you got something you'd like to share. And, just if you are open to feedback, please just say so in your comment that you'd love to hear others' thoughts. And, before I continue the slide there too, hey, is there any thing that I may have kind of touched on too lightly or missed in that statement there? Or...
No, that was lovely. I just really am grateful.
Just to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no. Yes, sorry, I was on mute. I'm also recording this, so I'm trying to not make my ums and ahs and whatever, and then everybody has to hear my commentary feelings. So, yeah, no, thank you, Scott. It's lovely to have everyone present in all the ways that you're comfortable, and you covered that really beautifully. I will say that the live stream is being recorded without name tags, and if you are taking any pictures, please do not have name tags on in the photos you take. That's kind of a rule with bridge makers. That way, this is a fantasy space to some degree, VR, and we can go ahead and try to preserve that mask identity for people. So we do have some sense of freedom to explore what we're going to say and not feel like it's going to be traced directly back to us, but it gives us a little more cushion to share, while also understanding it's live streamed. This is going to be something you can share with your friends later. It's a way to really cover some rich content in a unique medium. So thank you, Scott.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I noticed Jimmy was giving us like the no audio icon. I think it was his headset, and he's kind of coming out and coming back in to see if that fixes up his audio. So I see you coming back in, Jimmy. Hopefully the audio's fixed for you. Let's see here. Good audio now, Jimmy.
I can hear you. I could not hear Heya.
Oh, that was because I was accidentally on mute. Can you hear me now?
I am showing volume levels on Heya
Oh, can't hear me.
at
Interesting.
100%.
Can everyone else hear me?
Yeah, anybody else?
I hear you, Heya.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
Can?
KT hears you?
Okay.
Oh, very
Weird.
interesting.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's a sign we need to be friends. I'll send you a friend invite, see if that helps.
Another thing is point at her and increase her volume.
Okay, well, good, interesting. I love like hunting down audio issues. That's like gamification for me. So thanks for giving me a.
Thank you, Heya. That fixed
Wonderful,
it.
you figured it out.
Of course. Yay.
A friend request. Wow, nice. Friendship like just fixes everything. All right, yeah. Next slide here. What we're going to talk about with the book. It's cliche to say this isn't just your average book, but it really isn't. Like, this book was very groundbreaking, which is why it kind of makes it around in the circles of recommendations and lists and things. For the first part, it's actually very body focused, which was a really new approach to exploring the topic of trauma and mental health. For so many decades of practice, it was always thought to be like, just get over it or stop thinking about it. And this was the first time somebody said, like, hey, what is it? What if it's your body that keeps like bringing it back around? And very humanistic and holistic approach. So we'll find throughout the reading of the chapters, it's about the person. As much as it's about the research, it's about the people. This was an effort to help people, find their best selves and their best lives. That's one of the real touching parts of the book that I enjoy. This is peer-reviewed scientific research, so it's not one of those kind of like books about I found like my best life and here's like how I approached it. Like, this is actually a scientific book where Dr. Vander Kolk really like deployed MRI machines to explore like how people's brains scans like showed up when they were going through like a traumatic memory of things they were being asked, and this is decades of this work put together into this book. It's reached such a wide audience. It actually had 221 weeks on the Amazon bestseller list. So what is that, about 3.5 years or so that this book stayed on a bestseller list, and it's still there at let's see, number, if I can read that, number 30. It's a little easier to read on the big screen. So yeah, still going strong on the Amazon bestseller list. And for me, when I read this book, it was really like the antidote for that like tough it out kind of mental health approach, where somebody really took the time and sort of dedicated their life to the research to show that if you've had traumatic difficulties in life, that you can't just decide to be better. And that's another aspect of the book that I liked. Thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about the author, Dr. Vander Kolk. He was born in the Netherlands back in 1943. His father was a very outspoken citizen against the German occupation, and actually ended up getting imprisoned in a work camp. So, talk about somebody that kind of started out living some life traumas. Dr. Vander Kolk was right there during like the heights of the World War II, impacts to the European continent. He's very academic. He did his pre-med in the University of Hawaii. Why didn't I do that? And then he did his master's at the University of Chicago, and then he started a psychiatric residency at the Harvard Medical School in 1974. He quickly kind of rose through the network there and became director of the Boston State Hospital. And where I think he really started having his huge eureka moments was when he became the Veterans Administrator for the outpatient clinic in Boston. He'll write quite a few anecdotes about that experience in his first chapters. He founded what's probably the nation's first trauma research center in Massachusetts back in 1982. And he's a junior faculty member of the Harvard Medical School faculty. So he's also a teacher and a professor. He created the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. Just wow, how many people must that have helped. And of course, he's the author of the book back in 2014 when it first hit shelves. So a little bit of a scandal, no way to stay out of the spotlight for someone like Dr. Kolk. But I kind of found out about this through the research, and the deeper that I looked into it, it's kind of really gray. It's not as black and white as you might think of some celebrity or high profile scandals. But if my research and the information that I was able to get is correct, here's kind of how I feel it went down. In 1995, Dr. Kolk's Trauma Center and an organization called JRI partnered. And JRI's agreement was we'll take care of sort of the business administration of the trauma center, and you do your thing. Because if visionary people, they hate the day-to-day, mundane kind of aspects, and they're always huge thinkers and getting just deep in these huge projects. So something like business administration, can be a real burden, and I think, that was a really well-intended partnership. And then suddenly in 2018, JRI outright fired Dr. Kolk over these allegations that he was creating a hostile work environment. And what happened here is Dr. Kolk said he was completely caught off guard. There was no advanced warning that this sentiment was at the workplace and that this was coming. HR just fired him one day, and he felt it was really unfair, and he countersued JRI for defamation and wrongful termination and all of that. And he also publicly stated that there was kind of this wrestling match for the $2.5 million at the time that was in the research foundation. And JRI felt it was theirs, and Dr. Kolk had, been involved in raising that, and there was some kind of political tug of war, and he thinks that this was really punitive, that they were trying to seize full control of that money. So that was kind of the what I read into from the articles and interviews that I found. And the two parties ultimately settled out of court, which probably means that they're both right, and they worked it out. And, Dr. Kolk expressed publicly, apologies to the employees that felt like it was a hostile work environment, and that he is, committed to working on that aspect of his personality. I guess he can be, a little blunt and straightforward at times, which can feel, not too wonderful in a workplace. I know I've had bosses like that, and I don't have those bosses anymore because it's just it's not the place to stay. So, it's it's a blue pill, red pill, right? he's a heroic figure for the space because of all of the ground he broke, and maybe it's a wonderful testament to what trauma is as an experience, that even one of the most mindful and decorated explorers of the topic, had this kind of miss in the workplace where people weren't feeling treated the best, and maybe that's like a lesson that we can take away, that you can keep working on it, but even if you do your best, there's slips, and I kind of like that aspect of it as well. So I wanted to bring this out just in case we start getting deep and you see articles, you have a little bit of a background to kind of look in it and form your own thoughts. So that's like the circumstance that came out of the Trauma Center and JRI partnership. And to kind of bring it back around, just the warmness of the dedication of the book, to my patients, whose bodies are the ones that kept the score. Often you see books dedicated to like a life partner or friends, that help them with editing and things. And here we go right at the beginning of the book with Dr. Kolk say, this was all my patients. They're the ones that, that led to the research that made all of this possible. And I thought that was just like a very compassionate and humanist way to start the book. The very first sentence in the preamble is a really huge one for me because I wrestled with this. He says right out of the gate, one does not need to be a combat soldier. And, this is, of course, not meant in any way to take away from the unique and special, traumas and horrors that are witnessed in combat situations, because, one of the best things that we can do is support our combat veterans. I call in and send emails to elected officials about bills and stuff that come up for the veterans associations. And I have veteran friends, and I've kind of heard the firsthand difficulties in getting assistance. So yeah, I mean this with absolutely no disrespect to like what combat soldiers have gone through and their path to recovery. What it does do for me is just validates that trauma is trauma. If you grew up in a home with an angry parent, or maybe you were the parent, maybe you had to raise like a very immature mom or dad, or there's been a death in the family, or you've witnessed a horrific accident you can never shake, and it keeps coming back and affects your dreams. Maybe you've had a really toxic relationship that just cooked your nervous system into this bind that, you just have a hard time relaxing now. Maybe you got high blood pressure. These things are trauma, and a lot of us can really make that leap to, I've had some bad experiences, but I've not been to like war, and as valid as that statement is, what it does is it minimizes like what you've personally been through. And it's like, I just need to get through my stuff because somebody else had like a more horrific experience. And that's like what I'm hoping the message is here, is that it's not a competition. Like the person with the worst experience doesn't get to be the one that just collects all the support. You all deserve to be heard and to have support and compassion about these experiences towards like a path of healing. And here's another part of the preamble that really stood out to me, where he says, while we want to move beyond trauma, the part of our brain devoted to survival is not very good at denial. And it's such an awesome, like, one sentence to encapsulate, like, one of the major themes of the book is that part of our brain is built to detect threat. But it's a very, very old and not so complex or evolved part of our brain. And once it's kind of been cooked into always watching for threats, like, then you see threats everywhere, and it kind of brings your mind to always questioning, is something that's happening right now something I really need to run from, or do I need to fight it? So I built this little wonderful meme that says, you know, your old kind of alert center brain is like, it happened, and then your wonderful frontal cortex with all of its reasoning and logic says, you know, there's really nothing to worry about, and then it says, but it happened. And it's just this cyclical tug of war that fortunately you can practice your way towards a better handle on. And that's one of the things that I hope we can kind of achieve as a group is exploring, like, some of these practices. And yeah, another part of the preamble is, like, 3 new fields came out of the research, you know, like at the same time this research was being done, these fields were emerging, and this research was, like, helping the fields emerge. There was, like, the synergy. But neuroscience, the study of the brain, you know, including the nervous system. So this was one of the first times where somebody was looking at the complex, like, functioning of our brain and how it's connected, you know, to our body, the brain-body connection. And developmental psychology, you know, how trauma produces physiological changes. Trauma can recalibrate our brains to just see threats all the time. It can increase stress hormones in our bodies. So, you know, that irritability that you can sometimes feel can come from traumatic experiencing. And the recalibration of filtering information. So, you know, this is what makes it so important to understand these concepts, is that you can be standing side by side with your friend and see the world 2 totally different ways, and it's invisible to one another. Like, you don't have a connection in how that perception is different. And interpersonal neurobiology, this is, like, one of my favorite fields of study to start learning about, is, like, how our behavior affects others. You know, and I'm thinking of that example earlier, like a young person growing up in a household with an angry parent, and how that person's behavior then affects, like, your upbringing. And that's a whole field of study now called interpersonal neurobiology. And I always love quoting Maya Angelou. You know, people will forget what you said, but people will never forget people forget what you said, and people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that is the essence of trauma, is how it felt and how that memory stays, like, kind of baked into our body. And then every time something's wonky, it's like, is that thing happening again? You got to be like, nope, I don't see it. And they'll be, but is it happening? You got to look. And so we're going to go, you know, into some of the physiology, into, like, the vagus nerve, where all of these signals travel from your brain down to your organs, how those organs respond to what your brain is telling it. And it's going to be super exciting, like, dialing into that stuff. You know, why this book? Like, why was this book so sort of foundational to me? You know, why does it make for, you know, an interesting topic for the event? I've kind of been exploring talk therapy for about 20 years. I've been diagnosed with severe chronic depression, and you know, some childhood emotional neglect that has, you know, shaped my adult life that I'm practicing through, and finding all of these compassionate connections to you know, find a new way to feel about it. You know, my first exposure to the mind-body connection and traumatic memory was I was trying to think like my way through this, like just logic. I feel like I can figure this out, right? Like, why is my brain always like just go, go, go? Why is it always feeling this way and looking for these things? And I was like, okay, I'm just going to train my brain, to not think about it. And when I was recommended this book and I read the first few chapters, it was just like it all sort of came together and clicked that it wasn't my brain's ability. It was like my body telling my brain. I had it in reverse. Like I was trying to tell my body what to do, and my body was like, nope, there's a problem, you better address it. And it was in reverse, and I just had like no clue how that worked. I am a practitioner. It's inspired me to try mindfulness. I've been practicing now for about 5 years with group and self like meditation, like guided meditation. About 2 solid years now of weekly exercise where I just go on long walks and listen to YouTube videos and chat with like ChatGPT and stuff. I just finally started a daily practice where I do it daily. I either sit or do yoga. I do something every day now. And I got about 2 weeks of that going. Full disclosure, I've actually never finished this book, which is one of the reasons that I do want to do the book review event so that I could finally read it in full. I've gotten through like maybe the first 5 or 6 chapters, and like that was like enough to change my life. So I'm really looking forward to like finishing the remainder of the materials. But I cannot underscore how much community and connection, like through VR specifically, has been, a big part of this journey. Just meeting compassionate, like-minded individuals. I really want to add that to the book. Come into VR and find all of these wonderful people, because that is a whole nother side of it. And the preamble mentions these too, where it's going to be reinforced when we get into the chapters that, healing from trauma isn't just taking a pill or talking to a professional. Dr. Kolk found through research, through peer-reviewed study, that activity, things like community, like what we just talked about, getting together and supporting one another, mindfulness practices like meditation and presence and breathing practices, along with talk therapy and massage. This is one that I really need to start, getting serious about, just going to get a massage and having that kind of calm your body down, reduce stress hormones. There's a lot of health benefits to just getting a massage. And then yoga, same thing. Like if you think about it, yoga is kind of like giving yourself a massage, just through these different stretches and poses. Same benefits, and less cost, because you can do it right in your living room. And so, at the end of the day, kind of starting to wrap up the structured presentation portion, I really feel like the chapter ends, this preamble ends with this message of hope. Dr. Kolk's own words, I wrote this book as both a guide and an invitation to face the reality of trauma, to explore how to best treat it. And that part's important to me, because what he's saying is trauma is treatable. And I really feel like that's such a positive message for people to hear. And the commitment as a society to use every means to prevent it. And that's some of Dr. Kolk's humanism coming through, is that we're not just healing for ourselves, we're healing for everyone we impact and we surround ourselves with. And he's very pragmatic too, and he kind of mentions this other part about treatment, is that no single approach is likely to work alone. and no combination will be exactly the same for every patient. And this is what has confounded medical health and mental health practitioners for, since the dawn of time, is that no single individual has like one approach for healing. Everybody needs a different combination of things. It takes experimentation. It can sometimes be incredibly frustrating. But it's very, very beneficial work to commit to get these little, pieces of our past that kind of keep coming back and, interrupting our livelihood. But yeah, there's no one size fits all for everybody. And I think what this book can prove beneficial as is it's all of these different techniques, so you can kind of come at it with this broad-based approach. Maybe I've never tried yoga before, and maybe I don't start it this year. Maybe it takes me 5 years to finally get my butt motivated to actually change something. But you know what? That's 5 years sooner than I might have tried had I not known about it. And maybe yoga ends up being like that missing piece of how I start feeling better. So just to leave with like an inspirational quote, free your mind and your ass will follow. Our wonderful George Clinton with that wonderful funkadelic song there. But I thought it was funny in the context of this book too, though, because now that we're finding out it's actually the body that can steer the mind, is that free your ass and your mind will follow. I'd love to ask George that, if I ever get a 3 wishes to talk to somebody. And that's our final slide for the day. So what I would like to do is just, invite these hand raises. I see we got Ruth up on the board. So if anyone wants to share, just go ahead and click our squirrel friend up there to put your name on the board. And I'll kind of go around. And we'll watch the comments, too. For anybody that's hanging out on YouTube there, feel free to put something in chat, and we'll see it and see if we can address it. So, hey, do you want to start us off, or was that, any kind of accidental click there, maybe?
Oh, no. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, yep.
So... earlier you were talking about like something related to we've all been conditioned in a place of toxic positivity, which I don't think of toxic as bad. I just think of it as let me hide my camera here. I don't know if that's working. Okay, well, now you can all know I'm camera person too. Okay, I don't think of it as toxic. Doesn't mean bad. It just means that we are overwhelmed with one element while other elements are missing. And so we're not in a balanced place. And so something can be too acidic or too alkaline. But in this culture that we're in that is very like positivity focused, what can happen is we get all this unconscious conditioning that tells us to not feel the hard feelings. And the hard feelings, when we listen to them and we know how to talk about them and process them, can warn us that we're in a trauma zone. We're coming towards trauma. And so one of the things you were sharing earlier was prompting something that I've offered to a lot of people over many years, which is to remember that thing that I grew up being taught, which is like, eat your food because there's somebody in Africa is starving. Which there's a lot of layers and problems with that statement. But, from a heart place, there is a sense of let's not waste. And also, let's stay conscious of how we affect and how we take up space and how we utilize the resources we have. All great values. But the way that was communicated, I think also translated for me over to this concept of somebody else in the world is feeling more pain, more hunger, more lack than you. And so, buck up, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And And what I invite people to think about is when you say, I cannot feel my pain because somebody else feels more pain than me, follow that story all the way to the end. So let's say I can't feel my pain because Scott feels more pain than me. And then Scott is like, well, I can't feel my pain because Tessa, I'm going to pick on you, Tessa, feels more pain than me. And then Tessa's like, well, Jim feels more pain than me. And if we follow that all the way around the planet and we capture 8 billion people figuring out who feels more pain than them, we're going to finally get to the person who's allowed to feel their pain first. And the reality is that person is going to find somebody else in their life and believe, I can't feel my pain yet until that person feels their pain, because otherwise I'm taking up too much space, or all the things we tell ourselves. And then what we're doing is we're making a planet full of emotionally constipated and trauma stuck individuals who are really stuck in that history of what happened, because we're focusing on ignoring it because we don't believe we get to feel it or process it. We've never been given the practice safe space to really understand how to synchronize with our bodies and understand what happened, not just from the memory or the logic of it, but from the physical and the emotional. And that those pieces get torn apart from the logical and the memory of it. And so to really heal in trauma, which I believe this book is really making a case for, it's about reintegrating the memory with the body and the emotions. And that this is an invitation for us to not necessarily believe, okay, you know, I will tell you, I've met clinicians and psychologists and who went to school and had kind of a secret thing inside where, like, I can't feel my pain until I have a PhD in psychology, right? And yet they get to the end there and they're like, I never learned how to feel my pain. Like, they never really taught me that. They told me how to not hurt people to some degree. But I just am really appreciating you here. And that came up for me of, this is such a misunderstanding on our planet about when do we get to feel our pain and when do we get to say it and be with it. And how do we create a hopeful space enough to give each other the grace to feel our pain and be awkward about it and not know how to name it and still try.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, listening to you walk through that, because it's something that I personally carry too. Is, I spent a portion of my life in that kind of trap where I don't really deserve to get support, because I've been incredibly fortunate in life, in all honesty, like, had a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities. I've always kind of had this like mental wellness thing kind of going on in the background that, I couldn't tell anybody about because I didn't feel validated that I was actually experiencing anything. And it was, because of that other people had it worse. So how dare I, take from this, support pie that I'm stealing from somebody else, which is another part of it. There's no support pie. Like, you can get support. You're not stealing it if you take it, if you find it for yourself. And part of me wonders if it's generational too, because like my grandma had a lot of values, like, you never take more than you're going to eat and you save everything. And I wonder if they beat the tar out of the baby boomer generation with these values that, like, if you think you've been through stuff, like, let me tell you, let me tell you what we've been through. And it's,
as we've learned,
nothing.
We've learned from that idea of capital punishment and this violence-based paradigm that we're still in, punishment, punitive justice. In the short term, we will see a reduction in whatever we label as the bad behavior. But in a long term, it can be very catastrophically disabling to the people who go through that kind of conditioning. Did anybody intend badly in those kind of disciplines? No. But did it cause harm? Yeah. And how do how do we just like start with that? They didn't mean badly. It still hurt. It still hurt me. And then how do I heal now that I'm willing to own that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we want to get to a place where trauma is considered relative, like you experience trauma like relative to your experience. It's not less trauma because of there's a bigger a bigger dose. So, and I see Joffrey put a commercial. Man, where's my brain at right now? A comment. Yeah, Jeffrey, so emotional constipation, well said. I agree. That's a fun term that I think we might adopt here. Self-denial is seen negatively with our physical bodies. Why do we allow it for our own emotional truths? Yeah, this is that invisibleness that I love, to hear people address, is that, if you have a wound or a bruise, like we're so encouraged to get help for that. But if you have this invisible emotional pain, it's like just pull yourself up by their bootstraps. And yeah, well said, Jeffrey. And I see Jimmy up on the board too. Looking forward to your comments here.
So I am feeling so fortunate that I get to speak after Heya to say that I really enjoyed how you expressed that.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed hearing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
I am also trying to become self-aware of the I and you statements. So if I break any of those rules, please bring that to my attention, because this is going to be a new learning experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a physical copy of the book, but I haven't breached into it yet.
Yeah.
Also, about Scott saying that he has not read the entirety of the book yet. I was exactly the same way with Savor until I started leading a session on it, and then it kind of became self-accountable that if you are going to tell people about it, you need to tell yourself about it first. So I think this is an excellent way for you to get through the book, Scott. And I'm so looking forward to finding out things that I don't know that may be very, very important to some of the roadblocks that I've experienced in my life. And I'm here and glad for it. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, and I had the wonderful opportunity of getting to be friends, with one another, and I know you to be a very deeply feeling person, and that's like when you're empathic and you kind of look around and like you read a news article and your first thought is like, oh my gosh, what must it have been like for that person to go through what they're describing? If you have that level of empathy, it is often a case where you can collect these personal traumatic experiences, and then you throw that on top of a culture of you don't deserve to get help because it's not that big of a deal. Like the invalidation of that can be so overwhelming that we sort of ignore these invisible scars that we carry. And that's one of the things I really hope we can accomplish as a group, is kind of starting to take the bricks of that wall down and set them in a pile, and really share that experience with one another, that it's okay to let the body express these things that it never got to finally get out into the open before. And the reason that I feel it's so important is like I feel like I've started to do it, and it's made a huge difference for me. And so I hope we can kind of share these little nuggets of wisdom, if they are indeed that.
Yes, I hope that the world can develop a willingness to understand others' perspectives. I really, really do. And recognize
thanks.
Yeah.
really throwing some hardcore Star Trek values in there. I love it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. It's kind of natural.
Yeah. Jimmy and I did a whole watch through of Star Trek TNG together, discussing it week to week. It's super fun. Yeah, and Bonnie was there too. KT, I think you came to a few. At Tessa, I know you came at least to the one. But yeah, it looks like we got KT on deck for a comment there. Yeah, looking forward to what your thoughts are.
Well, I've heard when you talk about your suffering versus other people's suffering, something that's always helped me is that if you get some scales, some weighting scales, and you pile all of your suffering into one, and you pile all of their suffering into the other, they're equal, basically. The scales don't, suffering is suffering, and yours is no less than other people's suffering, and you're no more less deserving than they are, because it's the same.
I love that visual of these, all of these, clay blocks that you use to kind of measure something, and there's a big pile and a small pile, but the scale's just sitting even. That's a really, really great visual. And
let it pop up in your head whenever you're feeling like you're not worthy of getting resources or treatments or taking care of yourself.
Yeah, that's great. I'm actually really fortunate enough that my mother has been open to do counseling together, and it's having this kind of referee, like with in the discussion, who knows my mom really well. She's actually my mom's counselor, and I've kind of been able to express some of these things to my mom, that it's like I'm trying to like process stuff, and she has a habit of throwing this pity party kind of a sentiment, in that just get over it, kind of I want you to be happy. That's kind of what I'm looking for, is this like emotional policing of, you should always be happy, you should always be experiencing joy. And it's like, well, life's more complicated than that, and I got some grief to process too, so here's my grief. No, you give me the joy. And I'm trying to negotiate this conversation with her for the first time, where it's like, I need to be allowed to display grief. Like, I'm allowed to display it, to display what I'm feeling. So I'm sorry to go down that path. I thought it felt relevant. And Carl's on the message board here, so he says, can we hear? I've only read chapter 1, didn't feel right to go ahead. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, just go at whatever pace feels right, we'd love it if you can come and comment on the book, but truth be told, if you don't have time to read or something, don't be like, I didn't read chapter 2, so I can't come this week. By all means come, we're going to summarize it, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, wonderful. We got Rick rolled up on the board too. Are you excited about your thoughts on The Body Keeps the Score?
I've never read this book. I never heard about it until now. But obviously I have read about trauma. I've done some readings about this one book that I read a few years ago called You Are Not Your Pain. And it's funny. I feel like I don't have the right avatar for this setting. But
I think it's adorable.
Yeah, I don't know.
Be that. It's awesome.
Yeah. Am I trying to trauma deflect right now? Because a lot of the times with trauma is like, when I've had people deal with trauma and everything, there's like, this is the way I get through it, and I'm like, am I really, or are they really, or am I really embracing it, or am I trying to bypass it? Am I trying to expedite the impact of it if I keep myself distracted by other things? So, I think about that once in a while, and then I worry about it hitting me like a ton of bricks when it does, so I need to bypass it. But at the same time, my mind, I say, I think, I overthink, I triple think, I quadruple think. So I'm trying to make it that when a traumatic event or some trauma happens, I don't want to be in a pre-trauma mode. Like, I don't want to be in the waiting room of trauma for my life, So that's what I'm like trying to avoid doing. And even like, remember this movie called Reign Over Me with Adam Sandler, and the trauma of him losing his entire family and he's by himself now, and how he bypassed that with making himself go back to this period of time where he was playing video games and riding his bike and not dealing with it. And when he finally does, is it okay now? Is it okay now to do this? He has to find validation from somebody to allow him to feel the trauma. So I think that's a hard thing to do because we're so used to bypassing it. Or like me, is always present a positive image because I'm scared to present any bit of trauma to somebody because maybe it'll scare them away. I don't think that's that as much anymore, but I definitely thought like that for a long time because I didn't want to scare people away. So yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, like what you've shared right now, it just, I think it really helps others for you to, have the courage, to share that, because I do think fear of abandonment is something that goes hand in hand, with traumatic experiencing, because if I were to tell you these deep, shameful, like, fears that I carry and struggle with on a daily basis, like, would you still be my friend? And that is such a common thought. And it can prevent us, from ever getting to that, important cornerstone that we had up on the slide there. That community is a huge part of support for the things that we've had to endure. I really hope those things that are like laying there, there's so much compassion and deep thinking, wise people that we're all surrounded by. So I think if there's ever feels like the opportunity to kind of share that weight, by all means, that's kind of like what we're here, I think, to experiment with a little bit, is maybe this giant stone, that I've been carrying. Can I crack off a pebble and try to see what happens if you hold it? Like those kinds of peer-to-peer level of support is a part of the healing process. And I think this book will talk about like how that works and why it's important, and also like how to do it, ideas for how to take the path. I, for one, am a super distractification coper. So, like, I'm on YouTube videos, playing games, checking my work emails. If something takes 30 seconds to load, I'm, like, loading up an article or like, I have that brain that's like, I do not want to sit still, because you know what happens when I sit still? It's like, oh, you remember this thing that happened, like, 40 years ago that you never resolved? You want to think about that for a little bit? So glad you stopped. So I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes I feel it's a weird expression that it is a little bit harder to express being authentic because you worry of thing coming out as inauthentic. Or you're being framed when you see inauthenticity in situations that I'm like, am I being real? Am I being honest? Am I being open? Or am I I don't want people to see it in a way that it doesn't. No, I'm being inauthentic here. So I'm not going to say anything because it's harder to easily express authenticity. But for me, once I'm in that place, then it's a relief. But getting there sometimes is a challenge.
Yeah, and what I was kind of talking about earlier is like another aspect of it that I sort of had to stumble upon in the last few years, which was that emotional policing side of my upbringing. I literally was banished from my parents' presence if I was dysregulated. Like, I had to go to my room and figure out like how to get back into like a regular mood. So, what that taught, 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 6-year-old me was that I have to be a joyful or normalized presence to deserve like your attention. So that can drive, my inauthenticity as this like bubbly, joyful, put together person because there's something inside of me screaming, if you don't take that specific path, that you're just not worthy of anybody's presence. And I carried that, I'm entering my 50s and I still have that, right? Like, that's how powerful that experience can be while you're growing up, is it can inform your behavior as a middle-aged person. Like, this blows my mind. I'm sitting here experiencing it, but it still like blows my mind.
I'm glad we could articulate like this because I haven't really articulated that feeling before, and I think it's important because sometimes you're full of these different thoughts and feelings and ways you've dealt with things just in your own mind, in your own heart. But then when, like tonight, we started articulating it, kind of like definitely gain a little perspective. So this was good.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear, Rickrold, and thank you so much for lending your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Actually, we got a couple of Discord comments here. And also Rhonda Wolf, the waiting room of trauma. Well said. I love that. The waiting room. Yeah, that was a really good way to phrase it. Like, when I experience new trauma, I don't want to experience that trauma while I'm sitting in the waiting room of my other trauma. Let's see, we got Carl up in Discord. The VRC audio going through Discord. I heard Heya, but no one else. Might be me. Oh, so there's an audio through the Discord thing. I'm able to hear all of them via Discord. So Maka is not experiencing an audio issue. These are good. Please keep these feedback on audio and things coming so we can sort of hammer them out. And yeah, it looks great. Carl, I'm so glad you could be here. Also, Maka, thanks for joining over the streaming tools. Let's see, do we got some hand raises? It looks like Jimmy's back on the board. That cooked some things up in your head there, Jimmy?
I just wanted to state for the technical side of things that I could not hear KT until I followed Heya's solution by sending a friend request. And as soon as I saw KT make the motion with her hand that she was pulling up the notifications and accepting it, I was able to hear. So there is something about that. Take that data as you wish. I just wanted to add that for the future of the events.
Yeah, thank you.
Have you set your settings?
Yeah, really good to know. I wonder if this might be something new in the settings that we'll have to explore.
Not his friend. It's his settings. It's his settings made it so that whoever's not a friend is muted. Yeah.
Maybe
so Scott's
friends are muted.
Can you hear it, Tessa, right now?
I cannot, yeah, and that's
because we're not friends.
He's
not going to hear me.
I believe Atessa and I are friends.
Yeah, your setting may be mute non-friends.
All right, let me check.
I wonder if they walk back the safety settings and they're making it default. You can't hear people.
No, if you go to,
I'm
if you
aware
go
of
in the first page.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, like, that's a lot of people having the same issue. So it's possible that VR chat has changed the default setting for people to go from. It used to be that if you were. It used to be different, I believe, where you could hear people, you just didn't necessarily see their avatars, but they might have actually shifted it so you can't hear or see their avatars until you're friended, unless you change your safety setting. Yeah.
I went into our into your profile tile here, Tessa, and it was set to mute you. And there's like not a universe that we exist in where I would have muted you. So that's really weird.
That is weird. Huh.
Okay, that's good to know.
Strangely enough, on a lot of people, I am seeing blocked above their title.
Yeah.
Huh.
So everybody except Bonnie and Scott has blocked above their name on my settings for some reason.
Oh, I don't see that, but that is really strange. I think they might have done an update. And it reset some settings.
But then again, I'm friends with everybody, so.
Nice. We got a newcomer here. Hey, T.
Oh, Llama's here on Discord too, and T Gupta. I'm so glad to see you pop in. Welcome, welcome. We're just kind of going around with some open discussion. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, it's so good to see you and your special colored hearts. I always love to see that emoji.
No.
Yeah, we got Jimmy up on the board too. So yeah, was that what you were kind of bringing up? Was the technical side or?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Great. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Now we got a lot of information to work with. And let's see. It looks like we got Haya back up on the board.
Yeah, I'm just wanting to, I appreciate that people heard my kind of off the cuff advice that I give people around giving ourselves permission to walk through that doorway. But I'm also going to set an intention for me as a human being here that I have some answers around, but I want to set that intention for my journey with The Body Keeps the Score. Is asking myself, what is the difference between pain and trauma? And I want to find a lot of different answers to that, not the answer to that. And so I'm just setting that out there, and I'll be curious if I hear that from other people as they find their own answers. And maybe they don't know they're answering my question, but that's going to be one thing that I hold as we journey through this.
That's such a great comment to bring up too, is the setting of intention. That's something I kind of forgot to throw out to the group too, is what you might expect or hope for through the book review together. But I think setting an intention is, there's no pressure here to read the book or to heal or to, there's no pressure, because healing happens on a time schedule that you define yourself. Nobody can walk you through a healing process, unless you're there for it, for yourself. So I first read this book probably about 7 years ago, and I'm still getting around to okay, maybe I have room to try that now. That's 7 years ago. So I don't want to set the expectation or to have people consider, that by the end of this exercise, you're supposed to be over your trauma or, any pain points that you might carry. That's hopefully not the message that's come through, because, trauma healing and pain healing, that's a practice, and it happens on a different schedule for everybody, and that's totally okay. And yeah, Llama, thanks for the comment too about the audio. I'm glad to hear audio's coming through. And Jeffrey throwing out some support for me sharing something a little difficult emotionally. Thank you, Jeffrey. Just so wonderful. Your meditations are just. If you've never been to a guided mindfulness meditation, check out the Jeffrey in the Pain Benders group. He is one of the he did this meditation about trees one time, where it was actually the first time that I had that transcendent moment of just becoming pure presence. He's just that good of a guide. So thanks, Jeffrey, for mentioning that. And it looks like we might be kind of winding down in the comment area, but we do have Llama's typing some stuff away. Let's see. Thank you so much for this deep and insightful event. I need to go right now, and I'm leaving thinking about what my intentions are for this event and me at this evening going forward. Thanks for the comment. Yeah. So same thing here. I think that's something I'll think over tonight, go for a walk and say, what is it exactly is my intention coming out of this book reading? So great. Oh, sorry, I got the camera on you, Tessa. I put it there and sort of left it. Hope you didn't feel self-conscious. I'm still kind of getting used to this tool. But I also do have your voice working too, so thank you for helping me fix that.
Sure, no problem.
And just do a little bit of a going once, going twice, where we can wind down the official event for any more comments. And what I'll do is I'll put our audio back to just normal, so we're not all on loudspeaker. And feel free, to mingle. My good friend Tom Nichol says, nobody's coming to kick us out, so we can stay and chat. Any questions, I'll be happy to chat. So, here we go. Until next week when we dive into the first chapter, chapter 1. And, hey, you do have a question. I thought that was left up there. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
One more thing. For those interested to connect with people in between these times, we do have a event invite where you can RSVP on Discord. And we also have a chat dedicated just to this event. So whoever's attending it can go in and follow that and or RSVP, and then they can also be able to be part of a conversation and share articles and have questions and say if you're getting stuck on a part. People might want to get together and read together in between, but that's a place you can kind of build community if you want.
Yeah, great to mention the Discord, because we do have a live ongoing chat for the event in the Bridgemakers Discord event thread, which also has a wonderful RSVP tool that will send you a reminder when the event's coming up. So it's nice for me because I am very forgetful, and it's nice to have that little Discord message from a tool called Sesh that reaches out with a message and says, hey, by the way, the event's coming up. So that is out there, and if you need any information on obtaining a link to that, just reach out to me or Heya, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction.
Yeah. Yay. Thank you, Scott, for all your amazing setup of this. This has been several months in the works to get this event going, and many iterations of rearranging to make it work. So well done, you.
Yeah, thanks for everybody's support, including yourself. I think the preparation was part of the event, just the process of putting it together was wonderful.
Okay.
So let me get us on normal audio here, and we will be back next week, Thursday at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern for me, and that's 5 p.m. Pacific, and everything in between.
Yeah, would people, if not, no worries, but if people are comfortable grabbing a photo, that could be a way to kind of close that part, and then I'll probably be taking off. And if not, that's totally fine. it's a different kind of event. So I'll grab a photo with you if you'll grab a photo with me.
Yeah, sure. Optional photo event for anyone that would like to. Maybe we can take it in front of the chat so you can see our friends that were on the chat during the.
Yeah, I like it. Let's see
and
here.
For comfort, there's a little bit of normalization of the.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm just gonna slide around, crisscross applesauce. Okay. Oh, so cute. That gives everybody
it's not cheesy.
some.
I thought this was one way to
Oh,
get
I love it.
the chat attendees in the pic.
It's so cute. Yeah, we're all taking selfies. Chat people can wave if they want, some little hands or something. But yay. I don't know what our word for today is, but you know, something like healing, I guess, or something. Healing.
Feelings?
Healing or healings?
Oh, yeah.
Healing. Yay.
Feeling healings.
Yeah. So good. Okay. Beginnings.
Yeah,
That's
beginning.
right. Yay. Thank you, everybody. See you next week. Yeah.
Jim?
Thanks for coming, Bunny.
For a favor?
Yes.